Hey, I'm Janelle Molony, and I am on the property of Fort Laramie National Historic Site. And actually, the fort and most of its property is in front of me that you can't see, but I wanted to take a look back this way and show you that when immigrants are coming in from the Oregon Trail on the south side of the North Platte River, they are actually following the river quite close to the other side of those hills behind me. So coming down into the fort was not just something you could do willy-nilly. There was still a little bit of a travel that needed to happen before you got here if you wanted to visit. And if you were on the other side of the Platte River, on top of crossing over these little lumps, you would need to figure out how to get across, either by fording or paying for a ferry if that was accessible to you at that time. Some people tried to swim, but it really depends on the weather and what's going on with the water at that point and the water levels. I do know that in July of 1864, the Pella Company, being led by Nicholas Earp, did come to Fort Laramie. Specifically, Nicholas visited, and he had a bit of a rough time here. I think he kind of overstepped his bounds, and I'll show you where that happens in just a little bit. But I'm reading a selection right now from Emigrant Tales of the Platte River Raids, where in the back of the book, we actually have an appendix with source documents so that you get to see what the immigrants and soldiers are saying about things for yourself and draw those conclusions for yourself rather than trying to rely on a historian to tell you everything. So we're looking at his letter from April 2, 1865, where he's writing back to a friend in Iowa. And he says about coming up to Fort Laramie that we went on with tolerable good luck and speed, considering the scarceness of grass for our animals, until we got to Fort Laramie, which we did on the 7th day of July, just 1 month and 7 days from the time we crossed the Missouri River. And on we went without any serious trouble until... And then he starts to tell the story of the Platte River Raids in his version, in his words, which are quite colorful. But I just wanted to point that out, that this wasn't just a little easy turn off the road. They still had a little ways to come before they could enter the property. And also, immigrants at this time in 1864 were absolutely prohibited from bringing their animals and their wagons onto Fort Laramie ground because they needed, the military needed the resources here. They needed the grass, they needed the hay for their own horses, and they could not afford to have tens of thousands of immigrants coming through with 4 or 10 or 20 animals gobbling it all up when they really did need those resources for their own staff. All right, so let's take another look around elsewhere. I can't wait to tell you more of the story.